A request for UKIP's group in the European Parliament to return over £500,000 of funding looks like being confirmed tomorrow. The Alliance for Direct Democracy in Europe, the ADDE, which includes UKIP's 15 MEPs, has been accused of misusing European funds for national campaigns on polling for UKIP in the 2015 general election and in the Brexit referendum this year. Well, Suzanne Evans is seeking to be the next leader of UKIP. She joins me now from central London. Very good morning to you, Suzanne Evans. I know UKIP are saying you haven't done anything wrong here, but if you're asked to repay the money, will you comply?
Well, obviously, UKIP always says it's not like the other political parties, we're different, and so we need to be seen to be different as well. As you said, UKIP is denying these allegations at the moment. I'm not a member of the European Parliament, so I have no connection with the ADDE, so I don't know what exactly has happened or not. It's not something on my remit, as it were. But if I become leader in a few days' time, then absolutely I'll want a full investigation into this. And I will say this too, I think that if there is shown to be wrongdoing, it should not be the party that repays that money. It should be those people who were involved in that wrongdoing or who gave authorisation to such payments. Our members expect us to operate at the top of the party fairly, equally and ethically. And if it's been shown that certain people haven't, I'll be very disturbed about that.
But you get the irony of the overall broader point vis-à-vis UKIP and the EU Parliament over the years. I mean, you've spent so long traducing it for overspending, for being wasteful with UK taxpayers' money. And, even if this money's been used legitimately, UKIP has found ways of getting almost as much money as it can out of the EU in various ways.
Well, you've got two separate issues there. Yes, the way the EU spends taxpayers' money is absolutely profligate. It's totally wrong, and UKIP has quite rightly called that out on numerous occasions. But as far as actually spending money that we've been given by the European Union legitimately is concerned, I absolutely stand by that 100%. The British people have elected UKIP MEPs there to go and do a job of work in the European Parliament. They know they're not sending them there to actually support the European Union, but they're sending us there to challenge it. And so that the money we get back, which of course is not EU money, it's British taxpayers' money and taxpayers' money for other taxpayers around the European Union, it's perfectly legitimate that we should have that money and use it.
Now to the leadership. Now it's said, to put it, I suppose, delicately, Nigel Farage is not a fan of Suzanne Evans, therefore you haven't got a chance of winning the leadership.
Well, I've always said I'm a great fan of Nigel, and I was quite delighted to see him quoted in the papers this morning as saying that if the problems that we've had in South Thanet with the Conservative Party allegedly spending far more money than it should have done to fight that campaign, that he'd like to, if it comes up for a by-election, he'd like to stand as an MP there again, and I'd be 100% behind that. I'd be delighted to see him fight that seat again. Why not? So, as I say, I don't really know what Nigel thinks of me. We haven't spoken for a while, but I'm 100% behind him, and I hope he will continue to have a fulsome role in the party going forward, whoever wins this leadership election.
Well, fulsome role in the party, he dominated, doesn't it? Even if he left the party, in terms of the public, UKIP is synonymous with Nigel Farage, whoever wins the leadership.
I think that's certainly been true, and absolutely Nigel was one of the founding members, so we're talking about 25 years ago now. But what I've sensed from the hustings as we've been travelling around the country doing the hustings in front of members is there is a real appetite for change now. I think we recognise that it is time to move on. People are feeling very optimistic and positive about the future under a new leader, and that's been very heartening, both for me and I know the other candidates as well. Yes, Nigel is a huge figure. He will have a role to play going forward, but nobody can go on forever, and I'm sure Nigel doesn't want to cling on to any position. He needs to change his focus as well. He's obviously doing a lot in the United States now with President-elect Trump. He's thinking about possibly a seat in the House of Lords as well. So I get the sense that perhaps Nigel wants to move on too, and certainly our members are very optimistic about the future under a new leader, which will inevitably take the party in a slightly different direction, or will have a slightly different change of tone, and therefore a great opportunity to appeal to a whole new set of voters out there.
Just want to raise a couple of points that you mentioned there. The love-in with Donald Trump between Nigel Farage and other members of UKIP. You've been highly critical. You and I have talked about it, some of the comments that Donald Trump made on the campaign trail. Do you think they're getting too cosy?
Well, I think actually it's quite good that Nigel was out there building bridges because, Theresa May had said some things about Donald Trump that weren't exactly pleasant either. There was even a vote here, or certainly a debate in Parliament, about whether or not he should be banned from the country. So I was actually pleased to see a British politician out there building those bridges, mending some fences, actually saying, Britain's great. And I'm very pleased to hear that I think Donald Trump is going to be meeting the Queen fairly shortly too. Love him or loathe him, the fact is he was democratically elected to be the next president of the United States of America. And I've been as appalled as anybody else, despite my reservations, about the riots and the attacks that have been made on the democratic process.
But I just want to raise, Suzanne, I mean, you must remember, you were appalled by some of the comments he'd made, and he was, taped saying it, that he'd made about women. Yet Nigel Farage says, he endorsed the fact it was locker room talk. He called him a silverback gorilla.
Well, I don't agree with Nigel's comments, and that's a great thing, about politics. You're allowed to disagree. I think President Trump said some reprehensible things, but then again, so did Hillary Clinton, and I made it very clear throughout the course of the presidential campaign that I would have found it very, very difficult to know which of them to vote for. People have said to me, "Oh, but Hillary was a woman. Shouldn't you have backed her?" Well, no, absolutely not. Not for that reason alone. They say, well, Hillary had experience of politics. Donald Trump didn't. And I say, well, that's the point, isn't it? Hillary had experience. She was found wanting on the basis of that experience. It was that, actually, that I think that meant she lost. I think a better woman would have easily beaten Trump. And perhaps, a better Republican would have lost to the Democrats had there been a different candidate.
And do you think the government should use Nigel Farage's links with Donald Trump, maybe put him in the House of Lords to do that?
I think any government has got to put the best interests of its people first. So that means our government needs to put the best interests of Britain first. I think Brexit is a great precursor to that. We could have a super trade deal with the United States of America, a bilateral trade deal. Trump's already ruled out TTIP, this ridiculous European Union construct, which I'm very grateful that seems to now be well and truly hit the buffers. So I think we have a very positive relationship ahead with America, regardless who's president. We have got that special relationship. It's going to take some serious malfunction to be able to destroy that. And I think the one good thing about Trump's presidency is that he has made it clear he wants to keep that, particularly in terms of trade. And yes, Nigel Farage may well be able to support and facilitate that, as I'm sure will many others of us.